Nation, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of the HawksFanTV podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and I am joined again by my favorite co-host, Mr. Alex, the original founder of HawksFanTV. So glad to have him back. Alex, how you been, my man?
Matt, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone listening. I'm doing well. Glad to be back. I know all off season you were doing your thing with the pod, but now that the season is back, AC is back. So looking forward to doing, the whole season with you, man. I'm excited. Looking forward to discussing about this team. And let's get into it.
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited too, man. It's going to be a good season. The first two games of the season didn't go super well for us so far, as the Hawks are 0-2 for the first time since 2018. We will get into that, obviously, into this episode. We only have a couple games here to review for you guys so far. Not exactly what we were all expecting. I won't speak for everybody in Hawks Nation, but I will speak for most of us and say that was not expecting us to be 0-2, especially with the opponents that we have. I know the Knicks are obviously, not a terrible basketball team. We got to give them a little bit of respect that is due. But the Hornets are projected to be one of the worst teams in the league, and we somehow lost to them as well, which, I was just telling Alex off there, I'm not going to think into it too much. It's, guys, it's still October. Like, I'm not going to sit here and think too much into how the Hawks are playing basketball at this current moment. But I did expect to see a little bit of different things so far. I think one of the major things that I think I expected to see differently are two things, really. One was a hopeful improvement of Trey's efficiency. We'll get into that a little bit, and also a little bit more ball movement than I've seen so far. Alex, I think you even tweeted from the main account last night at some point, where it was late in the second quarter. We were playing ISO on offense, and we're not even moving the ball. It's just one dude driving into the lane, obviously missing his layup. So it was the style of play of basketball that the Hawks have done so much the last couple of years under Nate McMillan that I think all of us were kind of under the impression that we would see changes amongst that already. I thought we saw changes of that, in Quinn's last, 20 games last year, and then even in the preseason. So I was a little shocked to not see that in the first couple games. But again, the way I started this whole tangent, it's October. I'm not going to think too much into it. So how are you feeling, Alex?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I have mixed feelings, Mac. As you mentioned, it is October. So, we're only 2 games out of 82. And last time I checked, there's never been a time and place where a team has either won or lost a championship in October, right in the beginning of an NBA season. So there's that, right? There's the optimistic side of me where it's still early, we can improve. And, we got Trae Young tweeting this morning or late last night saying like, he's not worried, just to trust the process. So I'm hopeful there. The other half of me is like, well, let's see. The past 2 years, when we were a play-in team after the ECF run, we were 500, made the play-in, and then either got gentlemen swept or lost, within 6, the last 2 rounds. We lost in the first round the last 2 times we were in the playoffs. And it was very much the same of kind of what we've seen the past 2 seasons under Nate with these first 2 games of this season. There's been a lot of good things. I think this team is playing a lot more upbeat. They're playing faster paced basketball, getting out in transition, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's also flashbacks where we've seen the traumatic experiences that we saw the last 2 seasons, where it's a lot of my turn, your turn, right? A lot of Trae and DeJounte ISO, little ball movement, people just standing around on the court, and that's it. So in those aspects, that really concerns me. The defense was terrible last night against the Knicks. I don't know what the game plan was. It looked very much like a Nate McMillan coach team last night, in terms of we're leaving all of their 3-point shooters wide open on the perimeter. Why are we doubling Julius Randle, who only has 9 points the entire night in the fourth quarter? He's not cooking us, but yet we continue to send the double team and try to trap Julius, leaving other shooters wide open. That just blew my mind. So in those aspects, it's a little scary. It's a little worrisome. But with all that being said, I am still hopeful. I think I'm still going to give it 15 games. I'm going to give it 12 to 15 games until we really decide, is this the same team from last year, or is it a new and improved team? We'll see. The verdict is still out, but I'm hoping towards the former and not the latter.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's well said, man. I completely agree with you. Not to just keep hammering it down, but guys, it is October. I think Alex, you're exactly correct on that. Got to wait till about 15 games to really start making decisions on what we think this Hawks team is going to look like this year. I even said at some point during the Knicks game last night when we were leaving those wide open 3-point shooters for the Knicks, and we're playing this ISO ball on our end, and my turn, your turn, like you said. I was saying, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking that this is kind of one of those instances where they're just kind of going back to what they're used to, for lack of a better term, if that makes any sense. I felt like at times it was not the style of basketball that I was expecting the Hawks to play. And I think that was very evident when we were leaving those 3-point shooters wide open. Because I mean, that just can't happen, man. Like, it's the NBA. It's the NBA in the year of 2023, man. You leave almost anyone wide open at the perimeter, they're gonna make it, man. That's just that's why they're in the NBA. So it was disheartening to see, as you mentioned, but again, it's not something I'm gonna think too much into. Trust the process, as Trey said. But speaking of Trey, we'll kind of segue into what I thought was the bigger issue, if you will, out of the first two games is Trey's inefficiency, man. It's something that us as Hawks fans, I've heard you say it in the past too. We can defend him on almost everything involved in the game of basketball, but his inefficiency is something that at times we can't really defend too well, because facts are facts, man. Numbers don't lie. He isn't the most efficient shooter at times. He is shooting 8 for 35 on the season so far. So that's not good, guys. That's not something that our superstar player is supposed to be doing right now. And again, he's tweeting out trust the process because I'm sure he understands. He knows he's shot 8 for 35. He isn't under the impression that he's killing it right now. So I'm not worried about it. I know he's gonna step it up, but man, the inefficiency was bad, and just some of the shots that he would take, man. I gotta admit, it's like you're saying with the wide open 3-point and some of the other things we were doing. Those were just aspects of Trey's individual game that I was not expecting to see this year. I was expecting Quinn to kind of nip that in the bud and make sure that it was something that Trey wasn't really doing, man. Because the hard part to accept about when Trey will do that at times, whether it's late in the second quarter or late in the fourth quarter, it can lose us games, man. It really can. It's just like, Trey, you got to be a little more cerebral on these plays, man, because half the time it's not even that. It's like, dude, like, you can't be taking the shot. You're an incredible player. You could go down as an all-time great. I'm okay with you taking the shot, Trey. Just make sure that it's a high percentage shot. Where the game is tight right now, and I don't know. I think that style of play is not what you're playing when you're within a couple possessions. It's a 6-point game or something. That's when you're up by 20 or down by 20. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like he's got to be a little more precise in those moments. And the sample size is incredibly small so far for this season. So again, just like with everything else, I'm not gonna think too much into Trey. It's only October, but I was hoping to see a little bit more efficiency out of Trey.
Yeah, I mean, it's warranted, right? Like you said, Trey's our guy. He's our franchise superstar player. It's his team. And before I get into the flaws of Trey, like, regardless of what he shoots, like, he still finds ways to impact the game, right? Like, he's the only player that can get to the line at a frequent level every single night, right? We saw it against Charlotte. You don't really get to the line that much against New York last night, but for the most part, if his shot's not going down, he's going to find ways to impact the game, whether it's getting to the line, getting easy points for us, whether it's playmaking like it was last night. He should have had 14-ish assists last night if Clint Capella didn't, miss 2 of those bunnies. So he ended the game with 12 assists, but it's things like that. He's still finding ways to create for his team members and finding ways to still make winning plays. Now, with that being said, his shot profile and his just inability to make shots from the field is concerning, right? He's kind of struggled with that pretty much his whole entire career. And we were hoping that it wouldn't be that this year, but already early in the season, in his first 2 games, it looks pretty much like, Trae Young is being back to being inefficient. So it's a little worrisome. And I just don't know what it is. I really don't, because like I know uh, when I look at Trey, like he's a deadly 3-point shooter. Like he can shoot threes and make them at a high clip. But then when you see him in game and like the types of threes he's taking, they're really like high difficulty level shots. And it's tough, man. It's really tough. And even like his finishing around the rim, I feel like has declined like in his first few years, because he was getting to the rim, like hitting the floater, going for the alley-oop at a very, very high rate. That's kind of what led us to the ECF a couple years ago. But I feel like he's kind of swayed away from that floater this past year or this season and last season. So I don't know what's going on, man. I feel like he just needs to like tune everything out, pretend as if the refs weren't there, because I feel like he's pressing a little bit when it comes to attacking the lane. And I feel like he's anticipating or trying to draw a foul instead of just like going for the layup or going for the floater. And then if he gets fouled, then great. But I feel like that's messing with his inability to like convert on these like shots within like 7 feet of the basket. It's like I feel like he's trying to draw some fouls, so therefore he's not actually trying to hit the shot, but more so focused on trying to get the foul. So it's tough. So hopefully he just like tunes that out. Trey can be a great player. We've seen him be an all NBA caliber type of player, 30 and 10, playmaking crazily and scoring a lot of points for us. But I feel like he's just a little in his head right now. A lot of people have called it out. He starts off slow. That's not really a surprise. Historically speaking, he's always started off slow, and then post All-Star break, he usually turns it up a notch. But I don't even want to wait till post All-Star break. I want him to just turn it up now, because we're gonna need it. This team isn't good enough for him to play like that, like every other night. Like we can have a bad Trey night. It's the NBA. Every superstar has bad games, but we need that like once every maybe 10 games, Trey can play really badly. But for those other 9 out of 10 games, you need to play like Trey Young. And right now, it seems like he's playing pretty bad like every other night. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right, and I'm glad you did it. I should have started my spiel on Trey as well, giving him his flowers, because he certainly has earned plenty of flowers so far. And you look at his stats, man, and he keeps it up. He truly is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. I know the Trey Young haters out there hate admitting that, but guys, if I'm going to say numbers don't lie for him in a negative sense, numbers don't lie for him in a positive sense too. You know what I mean? Like, his numbers are incredible, and as you mentioned, he always figures it out. It's more of just, that slow start to the season. I think it's funny. Even my fiance last night was like, man, Trey always has a slow start to the season. I was like, he does.
Yep.
But as you were mentioning, kind of clearing his mind a little bit, getting those, for lack of a better term, the distractions out, right? I don't think distractions are always negative. And what I'm getting at is during media day, I asked him a question about, him being a father, and he mentioned that he has another one on the way. And you know what, man? Maybe some things related to his second child coming along. He's just a little distracted right now. He isn't fully focused, and I'm not trying to call him out. Like, I don't want that to be perceived as me trying to call him out of not being focused on basketball. He's a human being, man. He's got his second child on the way. Maybe he does have a couple other things on his mind right now, and he can compartmentalize. I'm not going to speak for him, but he understands it's October too. He doesn't have to be, laser focused right now. So maybe that is it. Obviously, just making speculations at this point. You have no idea what it could be or anything. But just want to put that out there. That certainly could be something that is fogging up his mind a little bit. Who knows? But the reality is that Trey Young is an incredible player. When he plays his best, he is a top 5 point guard in the league. But his inconsistency when he plays bad, there's a lot of things that I say this about in life. Like, when it's good, it's good. But man, when it's bad, it's bad. When he plays bad, man. He does. And more often than not, as you were kind of getting at, the team isn't necessarily good enough right now for him to play bad and us still pull out a win. He played bad against the Charlotte Hornets. I know it's the first game of the season, but still, that is a game that, whether it's October, January, or April, we should win that game. We should beat them. And it's not like we got destroyed, man. It's a 6-point game. It's I'm not not gonna act like we got our butts kicked by the Hornets or anything, but it's more so saying those lesser opponents. If Trae Young is not having his best game and we still end up losing, I think that has to be something that we are taking into consideration. Maybe not yet, but like you said, 15 games of the season, if that's still happening, then we may be close to hitting that panic button. Don't want to say that yet, um, but as you look at the schedule for the Hawks coming up, we play the Bucks on Sunday. Strangely enough, the Atlanta Hawks, knowing the way we do, will win that game. We always seem to play well against the better teams in the league. AJ Griffin will be playing against his dad. I'm sure there'll be a little extra motivation for that. That'll be a cool little story. I'm excited to see if whether it's Valley Sports or NBA TV, does any little story on AJ playing against his dad. I think that'd be cool. Excited to see that. And then we play the Wizards and the Pelicans, and then the Thunder after that. So I honestly think the next 4 games are all pretty winnable. 3 of them are on the road, but playing on the road in the NBA is not the same as playing on the road in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's just
exactly.
You can win on the road in the NBA. So I can see us getting back on track, man. After that 4th game against the Thunder, that is then our game against the Orlando Magic in Mexico City, which of course is just a game that the entire organization, the players included. It's a question I even asked on media day. They have to be honored by doing that. You know what I mean? Like if the NBA is choosing you as one of these teams that they're going to put on an international stage to grow the brand internationally, that's got to be an honor. To do it 2 years in a row to the Hawks. Obviously the Abu Dhabi game was a preseason game, but still, international basketball. It's just cool to see our organization be getting that promotion, if you will, that spreading of the word of the Atlanta Hawks. So super cool that we get that, and that obviously will be right around the corner. And honestly, man, I think we could be sitting at 5-2 at that point. You know what I mean? And if we're sitting at 5-2, 4-3. I'm personally going to feel a lot better about this team, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the most Atlanta Hawks thing ever if we lost to the Hornets and then the Knicks and then beat the Bucks, because we've seen last year, right? Like this Hawks team, and that's why this team was so polarizing back, is because when we play like the upper teams in the league, we get a lot of wins, but then it's when we play like really bad teams like the Hornets or the Rockets or someone like that, then we lose, and then we're over here scratching our heads. It's like, why are these 2 teams night and day? It's like, well, why can't we just get one consistent Hawks team? So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we beat the Bucks. Do I think we're still going to beat the Bucks? I don't know, man. Like these last 2 games really have me worried. But again, like I wouldn't be surprised if we beat the Bucks on the road, and that was our first win of the season. Like that's just like storybook Atlanta Hawks history right there. But like when you look at the team right now, Mac, like Trae Young's obviously struggling, right? He's shooting what 23-ish% from the entire field these first 2 games. Not good, not great, like pretty bad, really bad. But he's still getting to the line. He's still creating a lot of assists. He's the only player right now averaging 20 plus points, right? He's just barely above that threshold at 20.5 points per game. And then our second leading scorer, do you know who that is? Just off the top of your head, Mac?
I would probably think DeAndre Hunter at this point.
Yeah, DeAndre Hunter is our second leading scorer after 2 games. And if you just had to guess, what's his point per game at right now?
Probably around 20.
Close, 18. So he's at 18 points per game, but he's shooting the ball really well. He's at 55% from the field, shooting 36% from 3. So he's actually our leading field goal percentage shooter, and he's our leading 3-point percentage shooter right now.
Just like we all predicted.
Yeah, exactly. Just like everyone predicted, right? So Dre is really, shutting the haters up. He's been playing really solid these first 2 games, and maybe that is a coaching shift, right? Like we heard DeAndre here. He said in the media day, like Coach Quinn Snyder knows how to play to my strengths. And maybe we're going to see a different type of Dre this year. Like I've seen a different Dre, like for all the predictions that we had and all the hype going into this team this offseason, Dre looks like he's greatly improved. So that's exciting. I know it's still like tough to say because he is much older than, let's say, like a Jalen Johnson or something, because I think Dre is what, 25 almost 26 at this point. So he's not a young kid anymore. So like at this point, usually players are, playing like they normally have been, but who knows? Maybe we see an uptick in Dre because he's looked really, really impressive. And then Jalen, speaking of Jalen, he's our third leading scorer. Like Jalen was one of the few predictions that we all had was like Jalen might be worth the hype, and he's played and lived up as every good as bit as advertised these first two games, right? Playing defense, getting out in transition, dunking on people, playmaking, rebounding. Like he just has it all, man. So I'm excited. But for all the stuff like criticism that we gave Trey Mack, like another player that I really need to see step up is DeJounte Murray. He's our second All-Star. He was our second 20-point per game scorer last season after Trey. So we need DeJounte to play up. He had a really rough game against Charlotte. And for the first pretty much like 3/4 of last night, DJ looked really bad. Like him and Trey were like trying to have a competition of who could play worse in these first two games, me or you. Like it was like they were trying to be like playing purposely bad. But then like towards the end of the third quarter, going to the fourth quarter, DeJounte picked it up a little bit. He was attacking the basket, finishing around the rim, getting to his like little mid-range area and converting on those. So I want to see more of that. I want to see more aggressive DeJounte because when he's like on it, he can pretty much cross up anyone in this league and beat his man off the dribble. He just doesn't do it as often as I would hope. So yeah, with all that said, man, we got a big game tomorrow, and hopefully we can kind of even out this season so far. A lot of people are down, a lot of people are worried, but if we win and take care of business these next couple of games and we get back to 500, or like you said, even get to like 4-2, win these next 4 games, then I think everyone's gonna forget about the first 2. So here's to being hopeful.
Oh yeah. No, I completely agree, man. We definitely got everything we want to accomplish still in front of us this season. And I will kind of wrap up the episode on this. I mentioned we started 0-2 for the first time since 2018, which doesn't sound great, but I will have a little bit of a positive spin on that. I remember during the broadcast last night, my hero and idol Bob Rathbun was mentioning that the Hawks had won their opening night game 6 out of the last 7 years in a row or something like that, right? I don't remember the exact stat. But I remember thinking to myself, I was like, we're going to end up losing this game to Charlotte. And we did. But my positive spin on it is, excluding obviously the 2021 season where we ended up making it to the, ECF and had that incredible run. All those years that the Hawks started 1-0, 2-0, we didn't really do anything with it, right? So I guess I'm more so getting at, hey, we're 0-2, but, maybe this just means that, we're getting all of the bad basketball. There you go. Exactly. Getting all the bad basketball out of the way now. So
yeah, we're flipping the script. We started off 7-3 last year. Everyone was like, yeah, we're 7-3. We're top 3 in the East right now. We're gonna do great. And then we shit the bed. And then hopefully this season we start off really slow and then we flip the script later in the season. So then who knows?
Exactly. So so I'll wrap it up on this. I should have mentioned this during it, but it's a pretty interesting stat. So I started taking notes during the start of the third quarter. Second half, we only had 11 possessions, which is not a lot. It was just under a third of our possessions in which we passed the ball more than once on the offensive possession. So gotta admit, I need to see a little bit more of an emphasis on ball movement going forward. I don't know if it makes me old school, but I love ball movement, man. Like those Spurs teams back in the day, when they would pass the ball 6-7 times in one possession and hit that open three, it was beautiful basketball, man. I know some people didn't like it. That slash and dash is what some people want, and that's fine. You can do both actually in a basketball offensive scheme. So definitely want to see more emphasis on ball movement against a team like the Bucks. We're going to have to move the ball more. So very interested to see. But we're gonna flip that script, guys. We got everything still in front of us, and it's gonna be a good season. I stand by that. It's gonna be a good season.
Yes, sir. Yeah, looking forward to it, man. Like I said, still early. Let's see how we look these next couple games, and we'll be back at it again for episode. I don't even remember what episode we're on, but I'm looking forward to covering the rest of the season with this pod. So let's get into it.
Oh yeah, guys. So as Alex was saying, win or lose, we will be here. We will continue bringing you guys that content from HawksFanTV, whether that's our podcast or our articles that you can check out at HawksFanTV.com. Be sure to give us a follow on X and Instagram at HawksFanTV. That's where you'll find our spaces and other cool content as well. You know, Alex is always tweeting during games, so it's you know, I'm watching the game and it's like I'm watching it with him. So so definitely follow us on all platforms, check out the podcast, all of our articles as well, and just be keep following us, guys, because we're gonna keep it up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Looking forward to bringing y'all great content. Appreciate y'all tuning in today. And as Mac mentioned, make sure you follow us on all our socials at HawksFanTV.
Yes, sir. As always, we'll see you guys next time, Hawks Nation.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Ha ha.